Hey everybody, welcome back to Purely Gluten Free. Last week I showed you all of the starches and ingredients I use to make my bread flour blend and my all-purpose flour blend to make the breads and desserts that I use on a regular basis. I need some of that today, so I'm actually going to show you how to put together the one I use the most, the bread flour blend. I use it for breads, obviously. I also use it for a lot of desserts just because I mostly have it on hand and it works just fine. So we're going to put that together, then I'm going to show you something cool to do with it. So let's get into it. So as we're getting started here, I'm going to just kind of show you what we're going to be working with. I've got my tubs of white rice flour, potato starch. We're going to use the biggest bowl I have here at the house, plus this is called a tammy. It's just a big fine mesh strainer. Most of you will have something like this that you can use. Some of the potato starch in particular needs to be sifted. The one I buy in 50-pound bags, it comes pretty clumpy, so you need to get those clumps out. We've got a kitchen scale to weigh everything out, xanthan gum, whey protein, and tapioca starch. If you watched last week's video, those will be familiar. We're just going to put a combo of those together, and the recipe will be down in the description. Let's see how we do it. All right, first thing we're going to do is do the potato starch. I am doing quite a big batch of this since I need a lot of it. The recipe that I am going to put in the description is about 5 cups worth of flour. I'm actually going to do 8 times that just to get enough of it for me to work with. So I'm going to get 2,280 grams of potato starch in the tammy. And then I'm going to use a bowl scraper to force it through the tammy just to get all the clumps out. There we go. So we're just going to move this back and forth. Let that potato starch fall through the tammy. Once it gets down low enough, we'll just kind of push it through. This is the only starch in this recipe that you kind of have to do this to. The rest of them don't really clump up on you. So, but in the final project, you don't want a bunch of small clumps of potato starch that throw everything off. You just want a homogeneous mass. I'm gonna get my 5-gallon bucket here and start putting these in it as I go. There we go, potato starch. All right, I'm gonna zero out my scale and we'll go in with the white rice flour. This is super fine white rice flour. The finer you get it, the better. It's basically just rice grains that are ground up. So if you don't get super fine white rice flour, it will tend to be a little gritty just because you've got bigger rice grains in there. This is milled pretty fine. I'm gonna go to 2,000 grams of this. There we go. And that goes in the bucket. We're going to put our whey protein concentrate in there. We're going to do 600 grams of that. All right. And then our tapioca starch. I'm at the end of this bag. It's going to be the same amount as the whey protein concentrate. Going for 600 grams. I'm probably going to have to switch bags here because I won't have enough of this one. All right, and then the last thing is xanthan gum, and we need 120 grams of this one, so we're gonna zero out the scale one more time. I go ahead and put the xanthan gum in my flour blends. I rarely come across a recipe that doesn't call for it, so you might as well just have it in there. If you come across a recipe that doesn't have it in there, then you can make up a little bit of the flour blend without it. All right, that's gonna fill up half of my 5-gallon bucket. You'd be amazed at how much of this I go through. That will not last me very long, but we've got it for now. So I'm gonna get my top and we will shake this up. So we got the bucket. We're just gonna go back and forth and rotate it at the same time. Kind of like a paint shaker, only slower. You just want to do this as long as you can stand it. But you want everything to be incorporated. At this quantity, it's hard to get a whisk in there. If you're just doing the 5-cup original version, you can do this with a whisk and get it pretty well mixed up. But let's see how that looks. Yeah, see, it looks pretty incorporated. I don't see any different colors in there. It's all one color. No lumps of potato starch because we took care of that, so did a good job. Flour blend. Now, I'm gonna show you how to make my Hawaiian dough, Hawaiian roll dough. It's my sweet dough. And then we're going to make kolaches with it. So it's one of my favorite things I do with it these days is make a good old Texas breakfast kolache with sausage, cheese, and we're gonna wrap that Hawaiian dough around it. So here we go. All right, so what we have here are the ingredients for the Hawaiian dough roll. I've got our bread flour blend that we made up just now. I also have 1 1/4 cups of milk. I've got 1 1/2 sticks of butter, which is about 170 grams. I've got 2 eggs. I've got instant yeast. You're gonna see 2 kinds of yeast in the grocery store. One of them is gonna be instant or also known as like bread machine yeast. And there's also an active dry yeast, which you have to bloom first. The instant yeast, you do not have to bloom. It goes in with all the dry ingredients. It's the easiest one to use. And I would recommend that. It saves you a step and you don't have to worry about it. We've got the konjac root that helps us with replacing gluten formation, and we've got some honey. So we are going to throw in 490 grams of our bread flour blend. And then we've got 1 tablespoon of the konjac root. That's 11 grams. If you're gonna do it like I'm doing it and just putting one on top of the other, just go slow when you're getting toward your final measurement so you don't go too far over. One of the good things about doing it in metric is if you're over 1 gram or 2, it's really not going to affect anything. All right, 11 grams of the konjac root. We have 24 grams of the instant yeast. There we go. I'm going to pop our butter into the microwave real quick. We're going to melt that. We're going to put the honey into the butter. We're going to put the eggs into the milk, and then we're going to combine everything, and we will have our sweet dough. All right, almost forgot the sugar. So into the dry ingredients, the last thing we're going to add is sugar. We've got 100 grams of sugar, which is about 1/2 cup. All right, we're just going to mix that up a little bit, get it incorporated there. We'll set that aside. All right, we have our melted butter. I'm going to tear that out. We're going to put 90 grams of honey in it. Whatever honey you have, whatever honey you want is fine. Instead of going all sugar, I started putting honey in a lot of these bread doughs just to hold the moisture a little bit. They will stay moist a little longer. One of the things you battle when you're making fresh breads is just them going stale quickly. So you want them to last as long as they can. And then into our 1 1/4 cups of milk. We don't really have to weigh this, but I'm gonna get our 2 eggs in there. All right, we're just gonna whisk those. The reason I put these in there is just when we go to pour the liquids in, I'm gonna pour everything in at once, and if I only have 2 hands, so combine these and you can just get them in real quickly. All right, don't need the scale anymore. So we'll get our handy dandy mixer out here. All right, we got everything ready to go. We're just gonna start the mixer on low speed until everything gets incorporated. You don't want a flour cloud in your kitchen. They're hard to clean up. So we'll just dump all the liquid in at once, let it get incorporated, and then we will get the mixer up to medium speed. And we're gonna let this go for 5 minutes. We're gonna get everything nice and incorporated in there. All right, our 5 minutes is up. So this is super homogeneous. It's all one thing. I'm gonna get this scraped down. We're gonna leave it in the bowl to proof. I'm actually going to proof this overnight. So I'm going to leave it on the counter for 30 minutes, let it get an initial proof, and then I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, and it does a cold ferment overnight. It seems to do most of my doughs better if we do it that way. You can proof it until it starts to double in size without going in the fridge, and that will be just fine. But it seems like they come out a little better if you leave them overnight. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to scrape all of this into the center of the bowl. If you're using a stand mixer, you always want to get down there to the bottom in that little well that the paddle attachment goes around, just to make sure you don't have anything that wasn't scooped up. Look good there. We're just going to cover that in plastic, let it sit for 30 minutes, get it in the fridge overnight, then we'll make kolaches. All right, it's been overnight, dough's proofed, and so we're going to put together the kolaches. All right, we're going to do a little prep here. I've got these gluten-free sausages that I have purchased. They are a little bit too big for a kolache. They tend to be a pretty good mouthful. So you can take your sausages, and I'm going to cut these in half. That way they make a little better bite as you're eating the kolaches. So we just rip those in half. I've got some shredded cheese to go in the kolaches, and we've got our dough that we are going to portion out, get it rolled and get it wrapped around. So this is really easy to come together. So we're going to get some of the flour that we made down on the board. Turn our dough out onto our board here. A little more flour on top, and we're just going to knead this until it comes together. We're just looking for just a smooth dough, everything coming together. We're not building any gluten here, obviously, so we don't have to worry about it being tough, but we just want get the air bubbles out that formed overnight, so we can re-proof these. So we're just going to portion out 2-ounce portions of the dough. That's 3. Here's a little tip. When these gluten-free doughs are super sticky. So I have over here just a bowl with a little water. You can just get a thin layer of water on your hands, and the dough won't stick to them while you're trying to get all this done. Makes it a little easier. All right, so I've got 6 pieces of sausage here, so I'm going to stop there. This is Hawaiian roll dough. This is cinnamon roll dough. This is I made hamburger buns out of it. There's a lot of things you can do with this dough. We do have some left over. You can make it all into kolaches. It will stay in your fridge for a few days. So if you don't use it all the first day, you can use it up to 2 or 3 days. You can throw it in the freezer and thaw it out. You can make Hawaiian rolls, throw the dough in the freezer. So there's a lot of ways that you can use it. All right, so we've got our 2-ounce balls here. A little more flour. And we just need to get this long enough to wrap the kolache in. See how sticky these things are? That's the worst thing about dealing with gluten-free doughs, is sticky. All right. So we can see that that's going to wrap around pretty good. It ended up being a wonky shape, so if that happens, just fold it back up, knead it again, roll it out. Again, we don't have to worry about too much gluten forming when you overwork these doughs, so you can reshape them. Just keep flipping it over in the flour. Get it a little wider. All right, so we're just gonna go in with our kolache, with our sausage, little cheese. We're gonna wrap it up and seal it off. So we're gonna come in on both ends. I'm gonna roll that over this way and then come over and just pinch everything together to seal it up so you don't have a bunch of cheese on the tray when you bake them. If you get a little hole on this side, you got too thin, you just pinch it together. There we got one kolache, and we'll just continue until we've got the 6 that I made here. Now that we have them all rolled, I'm going to put these on a parchment lined sheet pan. So we're just going to let these proof a second time. Let that dough puff up a little bit, and then we'll get them in a 325-degree oven for 12 to 15 minutes, depending on how long it takes the dough to come together. I'm using the convection oven, so it'll come together a little faster. If you don't have a fan in your oven, it might take a little bit longer, but we're just looking for the dough to cook and get golden brown, and we'll come back and brush these with butter before we put them in, but we'll get those in the oven shortly. In about 30 minutes, they proofed a little bit. They're a little puffier than they were. We're going to just brush them with some butter. This is just going to help the browning, add a little more flavor. You can do this with an egg wash if you want. It's just a beaten whole egg with a splash of water in it. That'll give you a little glossier texture if you use the egg wash. But who doesn't like butter, right? All right, we got those covered. We're going to get them in a 325-degree convection oven. If your oven doesn't have the convection feature, then do it at 350 with no fan, and that should do the trick as well. But it's going to take about 10 to 12 minutes for these, and they will come out. We'll see how they look. In the oven they go. See what I did with the extra dough? I just kept on going. All right. All right, folks. It's been 12, 13 minutes. We're going to pull these out of the oven. See how we did. We sealed them up pretty good. There's not a bunch of cheese running out. These meal prep really well, so I've done this on my meal prep menu where you get them in the fridge, and you just pop them in the microwave or pop them back in the oven the next day. You've got breakfast, you've got a snack, you've got whatever you need. All right, let's cut one open and see what we get. There we go. There we go, sausage kolache. If you know, you know. You can find these in shops in Central Texas or really any donut shop these days, but they are fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Make that flour blend, use it for everything. You'll never go wrong. You'll never buy the store-bought one-for-ones again. It just makes way better stuff. Make the kolaches. They're great for meal prep. Make ahead of time. They feed a crowd in the morning. If you've got people coming in town, I know spring break's happening, and my editor that's in college is back, so we may have a bunch of these to snack on this week, and we will see you next time.